3, 2, 1. Alright, should be live. How do I sound? I'm streaming from a different location today, so yeah, we'll see how this goes. Is this working? There we go. Alright, cool. It's actually working. Hey, I'm not completely incompetent. Alright, so yeah, I wanted to cover this video about, well, last week, but thanks to Prime Week, I had virtually no spare time. I just had to work late every night, and I at the very least had a script banged out and ready to go, but I didn't have time to do any recording. So we're just going to stream it. We're going to do a good old-fashioned reaction video. And yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, I promise. Now this is, I'm sure you've all seen this. Plenty of hot takes about extra credits being all super woke with their whole. They've had a history of pushing, quote unquote, socially conscious game design, like what's in the title of this video, and I just think it doesn't always have a place. It's straight up. It's like, okay, games don't always need to be socially conscious. If you're trying to bring in too much of reality, I mean, the whole point of games is to escape. Why would you drag reality into your games? If you want a game to function realistically, that's different. Like, I guess in terms of the game engine, ballistics, and all that fun stuff. But yeah, this is this video, man, just it's gonna be good. Let's how's it going, chat? Is it just me? It's probably just me talking to myself as I usually do. All right, got my beer, got my video. Let's see if we can make this a higher quality. Oh yeah, we can make this a much better quality. Let's go 1920.
There you are, playing the
Jesus
PvP
Christ.
in your world.
And it's going to refresh again. Because I am such a professional.
There you are.
Nope. Stop. 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 Let's go ahead and collapse that. Bring this over. Where's the top of the friggin' viewport? There we go. That looks good enough. I should have done that beforehand. I didn't realize it looked so fucking pixelated. Alright. So, just before we get this started, full disclosure, the writer of Extra Credits, you may not know, is a guy named James Portnow. I did not take any classes from him while I was at Digipen, but he was an instructor while I was there. And from what I understand, this dude's got a bit of an ego. I heard this just from students who were seniors, like juniors and seniors at the time. If you handed in a prototype and he would give you some suggestions on how to improve it. Well, the next go around, if you handed in the same prototype and it didn't have his changes on it, he'd mark you down. That's an anecdote. I can't confirm it. Portnow, please don't fucking sue me. But if that's any indication, then I'm not surprised that you'd put out a hot take like this. So, yeah. Stop normalizing Nazis. This is... Here we go.
There you are, playing the PvP in your World War II shooter, and all of a sudden, you're a Nazi.
Did the teams change? The teams changed, didn't they?
You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Yet there it is. And it's treated no differently than playing a British soldier.
Okay, stop. Why should it be? It's a skin in a game. It's just a game. You're not playing a real person who buys into National Socialism. You are just playing an avatar that happens to be wearing a Stahlhelm and carrying around a Stormgewehr 44. This... I already don't like where this is going. Oh, Jesus, that's loud. Okay, we're gonna skip this. Holy shit, my ears. And in before copyright strike. Come on, where's... There we go.
This is bad on so many levels. No one should ever have a random chance of fighting for the Nazis.
No one has a random chance of fighting for the Nazis. In any, at least any modern shooter, you can pick teams. Have you fucking played Red Orchestra 2? Or have you played, just really any team-based shooter? If one team is full, you can join the other team, and then when the team you want has a spot that's open, you can switch teams. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. This is something games have been doing since, probably long before TF2, for Christ's sake. Didn't Unreal Tournament have... Yeah, Unreal Tournament had team switching, so since Unreal Tournament, maybe even Quake. I didn't play Quake, that was before my time. But, yeah, just... What the fuck, man?
And we should never express that there's no meaningful difference between Nazis and Allied soldiers, or that they're functionally interchangeable.
In a historical context, sure. In a game context, no. Because if you have a game that mirrors reality, it's not fun. If you have a game that has all of the, I guess, moral implications, let's say, of reality, if you want a World War II shooter that has all the moral implications of being a German soldier, that's not fun. Well, I guess it can be fun if you're Richard Spencer or something, but the implication here is that if you play as a Nazi, you clearly must be one. And that's wrong. That is beyond wrong. Because that's incredibly disingenuous. Just assuming that whichever team you pick means you support the actions of that faction. It's like, no. By that logic, if I play PlanetSide 2, I'm either a fascist, a transhumanist, or a space American. And if I have a character on each account, I guess I'm all three at the same time. I'm a fascist, space American, transhumanist. What?
And before anyone equivocates and says not all German soldiers in World War II were Nazis, if they were wearing the swastika and are functioning as an arm of the Nazi government, then unless the game goes out of its way to tell you specifically that your particular character is not a Nazi, then they're a Nazi.
No? I mean, I'm sure not every single German infantryman subscribed to Mein Kampf in lockstep, but no, that's just not... I don't want a game that has to explain, like, who the hell... Well, okay, let me rephrase this. The context that's been presented at the start of the video was PvP in a World War II shooter. You don't want lengthy exposition in a multiplayer shooter. You don't. Unless you're playing Borderlands, which is story-driven, or you're playing a single-player game like the campaign mode in World at War. You don't want this. That's not what you want in a game. That's going to kick you out of the action. And fucking Portnow, you worked on Call of Duty. You worked for Activision on the Call of Duty franchise. You should know that rule number 1 of any action game is never take your players out of the action. If you try to do something like that in a shooter, in a competitive shooter, it's not going to fly. No one, people are going to be like, I don't want a history lesson every 5 seconds. I just want to crack open a beer with my friends and use these historical weapons to gun each other down. Because it's fun. It's like fucking paintball, but you're not outside.
In that multiplayer shooter, when it switched you to the German side, did it go out of its way to tell you that the person you're playing was pressed into service under threat of their life?
Yeah, so were soldiers in the Red Army. What's your point? I just fucking said, don't take your players out of the action. You want to keep the action seamless. This is a core tenet of fucking game design when it comes to action games, is you want there to be action. You want it to be engaging. You want to suck the player in. You want to keep them coming back. Keep hitting that adrenaline over and over and over and over and over. Give them a good story to tell their friends. Oh, I did this last night. And I'm not going to want to play a game where the next day I go to my friends and I say, "Yeah, I played this press-ganged infantryman from Germany who was gunned down by an American." Like, that sounds like something for the history books, not for a goddamn competitive shooter. What are you doing, Port now? We're not even a full minute in. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a big old nope. Oh, and on a similar note, let's please stop forcing people to play as terrorists as well.
Okay, so who's the op for in the game? It can't be Nazis. It can't be terrorists. I guess that leaves Russians. That's the only... Russians and North Koreans. Which you could make another logical step and say the only logical... the only enemy that makes sense is one that's communist, in which case this video is pretty friggin' right-wing. You could say it's right-wing. I'm not saying it is right-wing. If you take it to that extreme, then suddenly this takes on a much more conservative bent. But I digress. You can't have a competitive shooter without there being an A team and a B team. It just doesn't follow. It doesn't fucking follow. Oh my god. This hurts. This hurts to watch because it just throws out everything we know about historical, like, quote, you could call them historical shooters. World War II games, Vietnam War games. Well, I guess no, can't be a terrorist, can't be a Nazi, so I guess it's fine for the opposing team to be Russians, Koreans, or the Vietnamese. That's a little racist, isn't it?
There you are, playing your modern shooter, and all of a sudden you're a terrorist. You didn't ask for this, you didn't choose this, and yet second verse, same as the first. There it is. I mean, that's literally the name of your side in the game.
Have you not played fucking Counter-Strike? What the whole point of Counter-Strike is to go up against an opposing force who happens to be terrorists, and someone has to take the side of law enforcement, someone has to take the side of the OPFOR. But that doesn't mean anything. That shouldn't mean anything. You are just wearing a skin and carrying around one gun of one... Oh my god, fuck off. I gotta get rid of that alarm. Well, that's gonna be in the stream. Completely fucking forgot about that. But, where was I? Just oh look, you're on the terrorist team, that makes you a terrorist. No. No, no, no. If that were true... Fuck, does that make me a hitman because I always pick John Wick and Payday 2? Like, for fuck's sake, hell, fuck, just call the cops on me now. I'm a bank robber. I spent 1,000 hours in Payday 2, therefore I'm a fucking bank robber, drug smuggler, and mass murderer. That's the logical conclusion. And it's wrong. It's fucking wrong. Jesus Christ on a bike. Minute 19. I'm gonna need more beer for this. Jesus fucking.
We can do better than this. Even if you put aside all of the people who have had traumatic experiences with these groups, who have lost loved ones to terrorists, or who have had generations of their families wiped out by Nazis.
I think if you explain to those people that it's a game and people have to take sides, they're going to be slightly less upset. I just that full on appeal to emotion just it's like that's like worst case scenario. Who the hell is playing like fucking World at War in a who the hell's playing World at War or any of the World War II battlefield games in a retirement home? I don't know. I'm not in a retirement home. I hope to never be in one. We'll find out the hard way, I guess. But see, it goes back to PvP. You've got two teams. You've got to pick a side. Christ.
No one should have to put on the costume of an ideology they find abhorrent without actually opting into it in your game.
We opt in already. It's called clicking the multiplayer button. We know what the game's about. We know that we're not actually these games are just it's digital LARPing. That's what it is. And if someone wants to join the Wehrmacht in World at War because, well, the Russian team is full, okay, well, I just want to play the game, I'll play as the Germans. It's not a matter of endorsing an ideology, it's a matter of what's available. God damn it, oh my God.
And by making people do so, we get them to stop thinking about it, to stop thinking of the meaning behind these things.
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess it depends on how much value you want to put on it, but most players... See, Portnow is not thinking about that. He's thinking about this from a game designer to player perspective, or I guess designer to consumer. He's not thinking about it in terms of the relationship between the consumer and the game. I don't buy a World War II shooter because I want to be an American gunning down Nazis in the at the Battle of the Bulge. No, I pick up a World War II shooter because I want to shoot things. And I don't want to go to a range. It's a lot less expensive to buy Call of Duty than it is to go to a range, pick up an M1 Garand and a bunch of ammo for it, and then shoot at a paper target. You know, it's plus there's more challenge in a digital game too. Reflexes, hand-eye coordination, all that fun stuff. Yeah, but no, just being like, oh, if we don't put any meaning into it, no one's going to think about it. Like, dude, these games have got me really... Like, World at War, Call of Duty 3, got me really interested in the history of World War II as a whole. Different campaigns, different theaters of war, strategies for different sides, how they fought, what they used. Don't just tell me that games don't make you think about things. That's so fucking wrong. You can have a game that doesn't beat you over the head with historical significance and still makes you think about the time period. That still makes you think about... Oh, fuck. That still makes you think about what was really going on. Like, Mountain Blade Warband. Spent a hell of a lot of time in that, and that made me look into, like, sword fighting. I don't know how to fight with a sword, but I've looked up different kinds of swords. Gee, it's kind of condescending, really, because now... Thinking about it, this just sounds like what Portnow thinks, and you could say what some game designers think about consumers, is that they're brain dead. And that's not true. That's not true at all. Fuck.
To stop thinking of the meaning behind these things. We normalize them.
No. It's not... It's not the same as normalizing. That's not. I don't even think that's how you can apply it. You disarm it. I mean, we all know that National Socialism is bad. We all know that what the Nazis did during World War II was atrocious and should never happen again. I get it. But this is a simulation. It's not real. And it's not and it shouldn't cross the boundaries into reality. It's just, I don't know. I'm kind of talking in circles here.
We make them just window dressing for entertainment. Those uniforms, those symbols, become things that no longer inherently revolt us. They reduce our visceral reaction to seeing the embodiment of these ideologies.
I don't know, man. Wolfenstein's kind of made a killing on turning Nazis into entertainment. I mean, the whole point of Wolfenstein is to kill Nazis in the most creative ways possible. Shoot them, stab them, kick them in the dick, whatever. And so when you say we shouldn't have Nazis be a form of entertainment, what about a game that murders that is based around getting revenge on the Third Reich, or I guess in Wolfenstein's case, maybe it's the Fourth Reich. I haven't even finished the first Wolfenstein game. I need to do that. I really do. But just it's kind of a two-way. No, it's not a two-way street. Well, the way Portnow's putting it is it's a one-way street, and no, it's two-way. You can realize that Nazism is a bad thing and still make it enjoyable to fight. You don't play as a Nazi, obviously, at least in Wolfenstein. But just the whole thing with Call of Duty is it's not the same. It's just it's just not the same.
Now, does this make us totally ignore the history that comes with them? No. But for some people, it moves them from the territory of revolting to just edgy.
I don't follow. I don't follow. Something can be revolting and edgy at the same time. I mean, being edgy is when you cross the line into revolting. You don't just take something revolting and make it less revolting. No, you cross the line between them and you address it. This is kind of a fundamental thing with comedy. The best comedians say what no one else wants to. They find that line, they tiptoe over it, and they find out where the next line is. But that doesn't make what they're addressing any less terrible. Like, you could have a comedian joking about how his uncle diddled him as a kid. And maybe that's the comedian's way of processing it. Yes, it's edgy, it gets the audience to laugh, but the audience still engages. And they still know, hey, diddling kids is wrong. It's... Portnow, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this you don't need a fucking psychology degree to figure this shit out. It's a fundamental premise of parody. You could say that a World War II shooter is covered under parody laws. It's not really in a comedic sense, but people have used the parody defense to get out of copyright claims. So the rule kind of stands for works for creative works like video games. Is they fall under parody. And as such, it's not a matter of making them less revolting or more revolting. It's just, well, this is what they're addressing. Now, that was a really roundabout way to say it. I should just have my script up, but nah, this is much more fun.
It makes scrawling a swastika on something change from unthinkable to just dangerous.
No, it does not. We all know what the swastika means. Well, there's two different uses for the swastika. You have the Nazi version, and then you have the kind that adorn temples. I believe it's in India. It's either India or Nepal. One of the Eastern Asian, or I guess you could say West Asian, depending on where you're coming from. Anyway, I know that in temples, I'm pretty sure it's in India, the swastika is still used as a sign of good luck, even to this day. I think it's good luck and prosperity, something like that. And Hitler used it to to design his flag for the Nazi Party. Now, obviously, we know that the swastika has been classified as a hate symbol by most of Western society, and we know what it means when we see it there. We don't go, "Oh, that's cute. Someone drew a swastika." It's like, "Oh shit, no! Like that's not good." But in another context, it's not so bad. I want to say it's the Hindus use it as a sign of prosperity, and to them, it's like what? It means good luck. What's the problem here? But what this video is trying to make a point of here is that if you play a World War II shooter, you will care less about Nazis and therefore might be more inclined to side with them, which that's just extremely uncharitable. It ain't right. It ain't right. That boy ain't right.
It means you might not take iron crosses all over a website as a warning sign.
You know what? Okay, stop. The Iron Cross was used long before the Nazi Party came to power. And while I'm thinking about it, extra credits, why aren't you using swastikas? You know damn well what the kind of the one-to-one signifier of the Nazi Party is. It's a fucking swastika, but you're using an Iron Cross. The Iron Cross was painted on Luftwaffe aircraft and used as a medal for valor. For valor in battle. Yeah, it can be associated with Nazi soldiers, but that is less apparent than the swastika. Like, I think some aircraft today have Iron Crosses painted on them, and they're not meant to be like, oh, this helicopter, this I don't even know my goddamn helicopters. This aircraft belongs to the Nazi Party. No, it doesn't. It's just, I think nowadays it's used to demarcate, at least in some countries, it's used to demarcate aircraft with high combat experience. I'm probably wrong on that. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I'm definitely wrong on that, but I have seen modern aircraft with Iron Crosses on them as a designation. Maybe it's to designate that there's high-ranking personnel on board. I don't know why you do that, but the Iron Cross today isn't used just to represent the Nazi Party. That's wrong. I read somewhere that the Germany wants to repurpose the Iron Cross for something good. I think they want to use a variant of it for their current Medal of Valor, and that might have gone through in 2017, 17 or 18, one of the two. But yeah, I mean, the swastika has kind of been irredeemably tarnished. The Iron Cross is, I hate to say making a comeback, but Germany's finding better ways to use it. So, but I mean, like, okay, so back to what I said. EC, why aren't you using swastikas? Are you worried you're going to normalize Nazis? Even though we know full well that you are using them you are evoking them in a historical context, not to endorse them. You were just talking about, well, this is how it was, or yada da da da, and it just seems really weird to me that you're on and on about all these hate symbols, and you're not even using the worst ones to strengthen your own argument. It's like you're afraid to put full force behind your argument because of the way you might be interpreted, even though no sane individual will think that you're endorsing Nazism just because you're using a swastika to make a point. Fuck's sake. I need more beer. God damn it.
That you should immediately leave? And if you don't leave, you might start reading and buying into hateful ideas there.
No, maybe you're curious. I don't, like, they're using that kind of reasonable doubt thing of like, oh, it might happen. It might happen. Yeah, it's not gonna. 9 times out of 10, it ain't gonna. Just, Jesus fucking Christ. Most of us know Nazism is bad, Iron Crosses are bad, swastikas are bad, so on and so forth. But like I said earlier, if a game if a game encourages you to look at the history of what events it's portraying, I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. Like, I got really curious about the Battle of Stalingrad after playing a couple of rounds of Red Orchestra, and now I know way too much about the Battle of Stalingrad. I know why the Sixth Army failed. I know why the Red Army won, and it was kind of a not one step back policy. But I know about their equipment. I know a lot more about the Battle of Stalingrad than I probably should. But that's the thing. That's a game doing a positive thing, and this is just like you're assuming the worst. You are assuming the worst. Yes, I've looked into Nazi tactics. Yes, I've looked into their technology and how they fought. Does that make me a Nazi? I guess according to Portnow, it fucking does.
It seems like such a small and simple thing.
Yes. Yes, it is a small and simple thing. Gamers aren't retarded. Gamers don't just mindlessly absorb their media and just kind of like, oh, Nazis, okay. I played one once in World at War. I guess it's okay. No. We're not stupid. We're not fucking stupid. Fuck's sake.
But it's things like this that erode our safeguards against dangers we sacrifice so much to fight.
Anyone who has spent 5 fucking minutes in a history class will know. I'm gonna stop harping on that fucking point. Just god damn it. God fucking damn it. He's hinging on that 5%. It's like that 5% mischance in Fallout. Oh, it might happen. No. It's not. It's just fucking not.
By the time you've played 100 hours of being a Nazi, their voice stabs become memes and in-jokes with your friends.
And why shouldn't they? If I want to put on a really fucking shitty German accent when I'm playing with my friends, does that mean I'm a Nazi, or does that mean I'm just screwing around and having fun? Because really, what I'm getting from this here is, oh, if you're playing a World War II shooter, it has to be serious. You're a fucking Nazi. You're an American. You're gonna fucking carry that flag on your back while you're gunning down them Nazis. It's like, what the fuck? No one plays a fucking game like that. Oh, fucking shit. I hit the wrong key. No one plays a game like that. You might play one that seriously in a tactical sense because you don't want to fuck up. But just, what the fuck? What do you take gamers for? What the hell do you take gamers for? Holy shit. Here, let's go to, I think it was right here.
And in-jokes with your friends. By the 1,000th time you've respawned as a terrorist, you're either celebrating them or making fun of them.
You know, you can be baseline tribal and still not be a fucking fanatic. Like, look at football teams. Okay, look at sports teams. I'm a Seahawks fan, but I don't hate... But I don't fucking hate the Patriots, or no, not the Patriots. I don't hate the Jets on the same level that Patriots fans do. It's a baseline tribalism. You give one guy a red shirt, one guy a blue shirt, they're going to be more inclined to side with people who wear people. Fuck, I can't talk. I'm so fucking mad. Who wear people. Yes, that's the sentence. It's kind of a team loyalty thing. But that doesn't mean you are endorsing what that team represents in reality. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. That means anyone who's played CSGO by this logic is a law-abiding suicide bomber. Because I guarantee most people who have played CSGO have had to play both teams at least once. The argument kills itself. Because if you take it to its logical conclusion, okay, the conclusion of being, okay, whatever team you're on, you must endorse that, what the realistic faction, the faction in reality, no, that doesn't make sense. That just does not fucking follow.
Neither of which helps the global crisis we have that takes thousands of lives every year.
What global crisis? Last I checked, war was kind of constrained to the Middle East, and it's been staying there for the last couple of decades. We're not at war with Japan, are we? Russia's not at war with Canada, or South America, that's a better way to put it. And Africa, I don't even know what the hell Africa's doing. They got their own problems to work out, but that's got nothing to do with terrorists or Nazis. Just this global crisis bit, you're going back to that appeal of emotion. It's like, no, this is not what happens in reality. Fuck off. Yes, it's horrible people die in war. And some games have a really, really good way of jolting that reality, like getting that fear of God into you. Just so you can understand that war is hell. You don't need to make the war is hell connection in every single game. Fuck, I understood that war is hell just from playing a couple of rounds of PlanetSide. Shit's chaotic.
So what do? That's easy. Don't make them morally equivalent.
Morally equivalent in a game sense or a historical sense? And on what level? 3 questions. Okay, so the first one. In a game sense. That, like I said before, if you try to explain the morals of each team every single round, no one's going to want to play your game. No one wants to be lectured about the side they're picking. If you want to offer more information about the team, that's fine. But if you are trying to hammer home, this is who you are, this is what you do, honestly, that's going to drive people more towards one ideology or the other, because you're saying this is how you have to think about this. And when we know full well that most people just don't. Now, historically, I think, yeah, the American forces are not morally equivalent to the Nazi forces, to the Wehrmacht. But on an individual level, and I'm talking soldier to soldier, these soldiers didn't go to war to defend their ideology. They went to war to defend their homeland. So, on each side, it's just another guy in the trenches. I guess in that sense, both teams are morally equivalent, insofar as the moral being defending your homeland. But that's as far as I can go. That's really the only equivalence there is and should be, is you're a guy in the trenches, kill the other guy before he kills you. Last man standing, that kind of thing. That's just how I see it. Because I have spent a lot of time playing first-person shooters. And evidently, fucking James Portnow plays like fucking, I don't know, Candy Crush or something. He worked on Call of Duty. I guess he had fuck all to do with its actual design. Otherwise, he would know how these games work. He would know the psychology behind them. He would know how gamers interface with these games. Just, oh my god.
Don't make there be no in-game moral difference between your Nazis and your allies, between your terrorists and your counter-terrorist squad.
Oh, here we go with the moralizing. It's gotta be different. You've gotta make them understand. Oh my god, no. Well, most people understand that running into a fucking supermarket and setting off a vest of C4 is wrong. Most people, maybe a small subsect of Muslims, don't, but the average man on the street you suggest it to them, they're going to go, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm not going to do that. I want to live. These people did nothing wrong. For fuck's sake.
Frame PvP as a training exercise, or simply take one of your non-odious sides and recolor them so that it's red versus blue.
You mean what games have been doing for the last 20 years? Quake, UT3, Halo. Need I go on? The red versus blue thing has been done time and time again. Oh my god. Fucking hell. I guess in terms of the context, then it matters, but it's a World War okay, this video has said so itself. It is a World War II competitive shooter. Therefore, it only makes sense for the context to be grounded in history, not as a training exercise. That doesn't make sense. That, from a game design standpoint, that doesn't make sense. Oh my god. And fucking... Oh my god. Okay.
Rather than Axis versus Allies. A good example of a game that does this is Rainbow Six Siege. All of your bomb diffusion and hostage rescue multiplayer with no normalizing terrorists.
You still have the attacker-defender mentality, and each team is going to see the other as the opposition. So, what's your point? That doesn't change the mindset of how games are played. I'm not going to jump into Rainbow Six Siege and say, oh, the opposing team are just my friends. And it's only training. I'm like, no, I'm going to treat this like, oh god, I want to win. It's all about the competition. It's not about the morals, it's about the competition. This is why you get trash talking after every round. It's because it's, haha, I'm better than you. No one cares about the morals. No one fucking cares. Fuck's sake.
In fact, by having all of the characters as counter-terrorists training for a possible threat, it highlights how real and present of a threat that is.
You can do that in a game. That's fine. But if you want to set it historically, then you have to know what's going on historically. You have to know what was going on in that time period. You have to know the tech, the tactics, fucking force composition. Just, Christ. Portnow, you're missing the mark so fucking hard. It's like, you want... Oh my god. I am about ready to just shut this off and walk away. This is so fucking bad. No, Portnow, World War II games aren't bad on so many levels. Your hot takes are bad on so many levels. It's low resolution. You're not applying any real thought. You clearly, you've never played any of these games. Clearly. Oh my god.
And if you decide that you need to have both sides be playable, don't make them interchangeable.
What? How does that work mechanically? Because one of the core things you can do in any multiplayer shooter is switch teams. So you're saying, wow, okay, once you pick let's say you pick, let's call this, I don't know, I'll come up with a generic title. Call of Duty, no, not Call of Duty, just Finest Hour Battle of the Bulge. So, do what you want is when you join a multiplayer game and you're matched to one side or the other, that is what you are stuck with for the rest of eternity, for as long as you're playing that game. No one wants that. No one wants that. Maybe you want to be one team over the other, not because you believe in that ideology, but because you like the guns better. Maybe you prefer the M1A1 Thompson over the MP40. Maybe you prefer the fucking Car 98 over the Springfield. I don't know, but fucking Christ. Ugh. One beer down, I'm about to start on my second. This is fucking infuriating.
Don't have players randomly spawn in as one or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on. Now, of course, this...
Games do that. Red Orchestra 2 does that. Insurgency does that. And guess what? When one team fills up, you pick the other until there's an opening.
Has all sorts of in-game problems, such as creating shorter wait times for fascists.
What? Hold on. No, I gotta go back and watch that again. It's okay.
One or the other. Allow players to choose which side they're on.
Which is
Now,
done.
of course, this has all sorts of in-game problems, such as creating shorter wait times for fascists.
Oh my god. There we go. Back to the equivocation thing. Okay. Port now. If you watch this, you probably won't. If you do, Red Orchestra 2. It's a game set during the Battle of Stalingrad. You have two forces. The Soviet Red Army and the German Sixth Army. Depending on which team I pick, am I a communist or a Nazi, despite the fact that I subscribe to neither of those ideologies. If I play the Russians, I guess I'm a commie. If I play the Germans, I guess I'm a fucking fascist. But this fucking point, it's like, what? Yeah, more people want to play as the Allies. I get that. But just because you are forced to pick an empty team doesn't mean you have to subscribe to what they think. It's like, Jesus Christ. How fucking dense are you?
But you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended.
The wait times could be artificially extended. So, you have a competitive shooter with teams, but one team has an extended wait period over the other. Let me watch that again.
Creating shorter wait times for fascists. But you know what? Those wait times could be artificially extended. If it meant players had an active choice in what teams they would represent, if you're saying we need people playing Nazis in our games.
Okay, this, from a mechanical standpoint, this fucking confuses me. So, you have a game with two opposing teams. Let's get rid of the whole Nazi allies thing. Just any game. Any competitive shooter. You have Team A, Team B. Team A is quote-unquote good. Team B is quote-unquote bad. And you extend the period of time in which people can join Team A but not Team B while trying to maintain team balance. You're only incentivizing more people to join Team A and not Team B. That doesn't make any sense. You just shot yourself in the foot. Like, it makes more sense to just have a standard wait time. You have 2 minutes, pick your teams. But if you're saying, okay, you have 2 minutes, pick your teams. Team A gets 4 minutes to choose. Only Team B gets 2 minutes to choose. Then when that wait time closes, is everyone put onto Team A? That's asymmetrical gameplay. You can't have that. Well, you can, but it's not fun to, let's say you have 18 players trying to join a game, 2 teams of 6. So 12 versus 18. Let's say that window closes. Boom. For the Axis. Now you've got 4 minutes to join the ally. I know I wasn't going to say Axis allies, but I'm going back to that. A and B, sorry. So let's say the window closes for Team B. Now you've got 4 minutes to join Team A, but no time to join Team B. Have you just opened additional slots on Team A? Have we just allowed all these other people to come into Team A? Well, that's not fun for Team B because now they've got more people to fight and they're outnumbered. Oh my god. Do you not know how competitive shooters work? You have to have balance. Balance is a word that a lot of designers seem to have thrown out recently. They prefer to take the avenue of, well, everything's broken, therefore nothing is. That's not true. If everything's broken, that doesn't make it fun. If there are slight differences, like with Team Fortress 2, differences between the heavy using this minigun over that one, then it's still fun. You can kind of rock, paper, scissors it out. But just going, okay, well, Team B is closed. Everyone on Team A, because Team A is the good side. It's like that. What the fuck are you doing? Jesus Christ.
And if you're going to say, but we need it for historical reasons, then your game better actually be historical.
I have problems with this argument because it holds games to an impossibly high standard.
You can't really just hide behind the fact you called your desert map El Alamein and say, but it's historical. If that were the case, you need your PvP to at least represent real historical events. And
represent how closely? You've just said you have to have it basically be like 100% historically accurate. Okay, so let's go back to Red Orchestra 2. Set during Stalingrad. I'm sure Tripwire had to take some artistic liberties in order to at least get the feeling of Stalingrad and get the claustrophobic, the close quarters fighting, the nitty gritty of warfare, without making it 100% like to the fucking bone accurate. The problem there is you have to, like I said before, you have to gamify some elements, otherwise it's not fun. Fucking Christ.
be a realistic take on those battles. Once you make both sides balanced, it's also no longer historical. And
fuck that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Alright. I'm going to keep going back to RO2 because that's what I know. If you want to be historically accurate, you know what the Russians fought with in World War II? What they eventually had to fight with in fucking Stalingrad? Bricks, clubs, sticks, bottles, broken glass. Now tell me, would you want to play a game where you're playing a soldier who is armed with a bottle and the guy you're going up against has a fucking FG-42? Or no, let's make it even better. An MG-42? No! No one would want to play that game unless they're a fucking psychopath or a sycophant. Well, not a sycophant. That's the wrong kind of word. Sadist? Masochist? I always get those two mixed up. But, no, in RO2, you get different classes. Each team has a machine gunner class. Each team has different rifleman classes. There's squad leaders who get submachine guns. Obviously, the guns behave differently depending on which team you pick. Like with the MG-42, you have to change the barrel on top of the magazine while, if you're playing as the Wehrmacht, while the Russians have the DP-28, which you don't have to change the barrel out, but it's got a smaller magazine because it's got the pizza pan magazine, and a lower rate of fire because it's a piece of shit machine gun. But the Russians also have the PPSH-41, which has a ridiculously high rate of fire compared to the MP-40. That's asymmetrical gameplay, but it's still balanced. Each team's got their own strengths and weaknesses. Each side has their own strengths and weaknesses. That's fine. But if you're like just stripping one side of armaments in the name of history, like I keep saying, no one's going to want to play your game. Forgive me, I'm going to open up another beer. This is just... Portnow, you are driving me to fucking drink. Either you don't know history, or you're too concerned with your own goddamn morals to know that you can't gamify history. Not down to a microscopic level. You can either have fun, or you can have realism. Games have to strike that happy medium. Otherwise, it's not fun.
And you can't really say that you need Nazis anymore for historical accuracy.
Okay, so if your game is not... Okay, oh, fucking hell! Okay, so if your game is not 100% historically accurate, you can't have Nazis in your game. Is that what I've just heard? You can only have Nazis if it's historically accurate. In that case, Wolfenstein... Not a game. Wolfenstein can't make it anymore. Bye. Can't have it. Nope. Wolfenstein's bad because it's not historically accurate.
Oh, and once you let players get cool weapons that weren't actually at that particular battleground, it's also no longer historically accurate.
Oh, fuck off! Fuck off with that bullshit! Oh my god. Who the fuck is going to put a minigun in something like Verdun or Rising Storm? Something meant to mimic the historical conditions of the time and go, yeah, they didn't have miniguns, but the rest of it's historically accurate. No one's going to say that because no gamer is going to look at that and go, yeah, miniguns were in World War II. What are you talking about? I used one in Medal of Honor. Fuck off. If that's what you think, you are fucking beyond help. Holy shit.
And you can't declare that your game will suffer if you don't put players in the jackboots of the Third Reich.
Okay. I've made a game that's the Americans versus the Axis. Let's say Battle of the Bulge. Kind of like Call of Duty 3. I can't have Nazis. Who do the Americans fight? The French? They're not going to fight. But, Jesus fuck. Like, we're not... When you make a World War II shooter and you have Nazis as your antagonist or as one of your teams, it's not to make the players put their feet into the jackboots of Nazis. It's just to fucking simulate combat at the time. For fuck's sake. You're completely missing the point. Or you're not even missing the point. Portnoy, you're just fucking overthinking it. You're just taking it one step too goddamn far.
And once your map is something carefully designed to have good gameplay by a team in a room in San Francisco or LA, and it's not a faithful reconstruction of the actual places the historical events occurred in, you can no longer say we need to have players take up arms in service of terror or hate.
Okay. So your maps had better be dead on, or you can't die. Oh my god. Ugh. See, Tripwire did a good job of doing both. I mean, you have stuff like the Grain Elevator or Pavlov's House, which were actual historical sites, but they no longer exist today. So what do? You got to take some artistic liberties in order to recreate them. All right, was everything in place exactly as it was the day Stalingrad was invaded? Probably fucking not. But looking at maps, looking at how things were constructed, yeah, this seems like a good rebuild of Pavlov's House or of the Grain Elevator. It's just like, yeah, but you... I don't know, the way those last two arguments are put back to back, it's like, well, if your map is developed by a AAA studio, it can't be historically accurate. Okay, all right, Portnoy. I want you to make a 100% accurate recreation for a game map of Normandy Beach. Go on, do it. Okinawa. Do it. If anything's out of place, no, your game's wrong. Scrap it, do it again. It's like, come on. We're going to get as close as we can. Jesus Christ.
And look, we're not saying we can't have games about World War II or about terrorism. We're not even saying we shouldn't make games where you play as a Nazi or a terrorist. But what...
I think you've been saying that this entire time.
we are saying is that the fact that you're playing as a Nazi or a terrorist in a game has to mean something.
Yeah, it means you're on that team. That's all it should mean, is this is your team for this match. Go have fun. Go forth and conquer, my son. It shouldn't mean anything more than that. It should not mean anything more than that. What you're trying to ascribe meaning and motive to the teams in a fucking video game? Like, okay, have you ever heard of anyone being motivated to bomb a mall or a mosque from playing the terrorists a couple of rounds in CSGO? No, you haven't. No one's done that. No one has fucking done... No one's fucking done that.
And it can't just be a skin. It can't be something that a game randomly drops you into.
Why not? I gotta hear this.
And really, if we are saying...
No why, it just can't. Some hell of a fucking argument you're putting up there. Like, I've already shot holes through the rest of your fucking points, and now you're just like, well, you can't do it because I said so. That's not a good excuse. That's Stefan Molyneux levels of not an argument. Because, I mean, even now, like, God, what was the game that was announced a couple of years back, and it was really controversial? Was modern 6 Days in Fallujah. That was supposed to be like a really, like boots on the ground take of American forces against the OPFOR in Iraq, and it wasn't competitive. I think it was meant to be a squad based tactical shooter, but you can't just say we're gonna make a modern day combat game like Insurgency, and you can't just nix the terrorists, because then you've just given your Team A nothing to fight. Design-wise, it makes no sense. I'm going to keep going back to that. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Anything in this episode, it's this. Games can do better.
Do better at what? Can do better at what? Just do better. It's like that was the fucking metric I was given at Digipen. Okay, your game's bad. Do better. How? We're not going to tell you. Just do better. It's like that. This doesn't help. This argument doesn't help. You're just saying if you're making a World War II shooter, you're bad. If you're making people play as the Nazis, it's a bad game. No, there's no entertainment value. There's no gauge on how it performs. Does it have a lot of bugs? No, it's just Nazis bad, therefore games with them are bad. Fuck off.
And in this particular case, it's not even that hard to do better. And it's no more costly to do better.
What? Not even that hard. How? No more costly? Maybe? I mean, you have to pay some writers to come up with a better enemy to fight than fucking Nazis in Battlefield. I don't see what the point is here.
All it requires is that we in the game industry be cognizant of the world around us. And
that's a complete non-fucking point. Okay, we can't have Nazis in our games. Why? Because we need to be more cognizant of the world around us. What? Those 2 points don't fucking follow. Oh my god.
And what these symbols we're drawing on mean. That
we know what they mean. They represent a really dark time in world history. That was also kind of exciting, because you had a lot of things come out of World War II. Not just fucking gas chambers and high velocity submachine guns. You had not just, tanks, aircraft, all these innovations, but like that just represents a time where humanity was evolving, and now you're telling me it's wrong to set games in that time? Cool. I guess just yeet it from the fucking textbooks, for Christ's sake.
We think as we're building, not just about the game we're working on, but about the world as a whole.
If you think for a second that having anyone play as the Wehrmacht in a competitive World War II shooter will make the world a worse place, you are so militantly vegan, I cannot help you. I will just dangle bacon in front of your face until you come back to the light side.
If we can do that, we can take a big step forward for the industry. We can stop helping to normalize Nazis.
The industry is not doing that. If anything, the industry is promoting the death of Nazis. Like with fucking Wolfenstein. Now, I guess in that context, yeah, that's fine. Do I agree with that we should go out and just shoot them on sight? No, I think we should debate them, talk to them, and tell them why they're wrong. Hear them out and laugh at them for being so fucking backwards. But, Jesus Christ, this... trying to lay blame for people like Richard Spencer on the feat of video games. It's so... It's wrong. It's straight up fucking wrong. You can't do that. Well, you can. Fucking Portnow just did. But it's uncharitable. You're attacking the problem from the wrong angle. You're virtue signaling. You're saying, I hate Nazis too, guys. You're just fucking virtue signaling, and I hate it. I fucking hate it. Have some backbone. Don't be afraid to put fucking Nazis in your WW2 games. And just crying out loud. Now let's see. Let's look at this here. Can I not scroll? Oh my god, I gotta change something in the browser, don't I? Because I gotta auto overflow margin. I gotta make some changes here so I can enable scrolling. Video's probably gonna reset. Yep.
There you are.
Shut up. And now I can scroll. So, let's see how this video was received by the general populace. Oh my god, just fucking stop. What a frame to freeze on. So, wow, look at that ratio. 15,000 likes to 213,000 dislikes. Now, something else I want to address before I end this stream is Extra Credits came back and said, oh shit, this really, like, people are talking about this. Why is that? And some of the points they make in the comments are just, they make me go, why didn't you think of that sooner? So, alright, top comment, it's pinned there, let's look at these. Read more. Hey folks, so this one seems to have struck a nerve. We encourage discussion about the topic, and there is some fair criticism of the video out there. However, I wanted to address some of the comments that seem to have misunderstood some aspects of the video. If there's a misunderstanding, you didn't make a clear enough argument. That's really just step one. You didn't speak directly enough. You left points out. I'm guilty of doing this in my own videos. I probably have left out tons of them. But this is just this sort of apologetics, or not apologetics, but this retroactive correction, it just strikes me as like, oh shit. Number one, we never said that playing as a Nazi turns you into a Nazi, but you implied it. You implied it heavily. You implied that's where your line of logic was going. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. However, there's plenty of research about how art and media can shift people's perspectives. Yeah, and I would say that World War II shooters, serving as a sort of informative vehicle about how bad things were during war in the 1940s, gives you a really good perspective on why not to, just fuck. Shit was fucked. Let's not do that again. This is not a good or a bad thing. This is just a natural effect of culture. Please look up the Overton window, where heck you can watch our video on propaganda games over here. I'm not going to click that link because you're not talking about propaganda. You're talking about fucking something retarded entirely. So now playing a Nazi doesn't magically transform you into a Nazi. No one is saying that. You said that in the introduction of your video. Boom, you're a Nazi. How do you like that? And through your implication of, oh, if you play Nazis this many times, you might be normalized to them. Yeah, that means you are becoming one. And games don't do that. You're just having a fucking jab. You're just having fun. God damn it. Point number 2. We never said that games should never let you play as Nazis or terrorists for that matter. Yeah, but you gave some pretty fucking strict constraints on what allows you to play as a Nazi or a terrorist. Whether or not someone actively wants to is out of the question. It's just a matter of what games offer up for teams. And just, you've said games shouldn't do that. Well, now you're saying they can, but they shouldn't. And I'm going to go back to my original point. All right, if they shouldn't, who's the op for? Who am I fighting? Oh, training simulator. Well, that's okay. That's fine. But if you, in a historical context, it doesn't work. There's a lot of potential for some really interesting or impactful games that put players in the boots of people or in control of systems that have done incredible harm. What? But it can't just be done thoughtlessly or just as a skin on top of mechanics, devoid of context. Yes, it can. That's what most games do. If you, as the developers, want to think about these things, that's fine. But if you try to pass the buck off to the player and make them feel the same emotional weight, they're not going to want to pick up your game. They just want to shoot people made of pixels for a couple of hours a night. If that's what you think, you don't understand basic gamer psychology. People want to play games to have fun. Education is an afterthought. Like, I think each mission in World at War had a little blurb where you could pause the game and go in and read about the engagement you were in. And that was really cool. But you weren't beat over the head with, here's what's going on, guys. It's just like, motherfucker. For those saying that it's just a game we shouldn't think too hard about it, I feel like perhaps it might be important to introduce ourselves. Hi, we're Extra Credits. Our tagline for a very long time was because games matter. It's something we fundamentally believe in. If you don't, that's okay. But then our content might not be for you because thinking hard about games is kind of our shtick. You mean thinking too hard? Because, okay, our counter-argument was don't think too hard. You can think hard about it. Thinking hard about it is what leads you to research these periods in history. Thinking too hard is going, well, we shouldn't do this because that period in history was bad. No, don't overthink it. It's cool to think about it. It's cool if a game introduces you to researching a period in history. So long as you are not interested in, I guess, in joining the ideology of one side or the other. If you just want to neutrally know, okay, this is what happened, this is what it was like. Hey, if games do that, more fucking power to them. But this is just extra credits. The arguments you put forth did not make that point. They made a worse point. Your points are bad, and you should have really thought about them harder. You should have really considered, okay, what does the average gamer on the street think, for lack of a better term? Not, what do we think, and what we think matters. Yes, games matter. It's an art form. I think all art forms matter. But if just what you think matters and no one else, then you're being pretty fucking entitled. Number 4. Our rating staff is the same. We've always talked about politics and games in our other videos. If this comes as a surprise to you or you think there's been a large shift in our thinking, I'd invite you to take a look at some of our older episodes. Yeah, Extra Credits has always talked about politics and games, which is fine. Games can be political. I don't think they should, but they can be, especially if you're going to have like diplomatic simulators, kind of like some of the Total War games where there's negotiations involved, or I think there's a game called Democracy, and that's the whole point, is politics. But where are we? We live in a time where neo-Nazis exist. They've existed for decades. They've existed since the 1940s. And they seem to have increasingly found a home in gaming communities. Citation needed. Please. Citation needed. Just because someone's more conservative does not make them a neo-Nazi. Just because someone might have a hardline stance on immigration does not make them a neo-Nazi. It just means they have a different opinion. And that's kind of the problem, is you are ascribing neo-Nazi ideology to people who probably don't have it. They just might be a little less liberal than you think. This isn't something we can turn a blind eye to anymore, and it's important to consider what we as game designers can do to try and make things better. Talk to these people. Don't try to do it through your games, because people don't buy games to be lectured. They buy them for fucking entertainment. That's rule number fucking one. It is rule number one. And, oh my god. As I said, there have been some very valid critiques to the video that we greatly appreciate. More important to us is to start talking about these topics and to have conversations about design. For those of you who have kept civil in the comments, thank you. For those who need a reminder, our COC can be found here. You're going to try and enforce your community code of conduct on YouTube. No. The extra credits community should be limited to the extra credits site. Not everyone who watches this video is part of the extra credits community. They might be outsiders like myself. I used to watch the show a lot when I was at DigiPen. I haven't even bothered to now, mostly just because I forgot about it. And then this came up, and I'm like, wow, what the fuck have these guys been doing? But you can't enforce community standards on outsiders. That's what Twitter's doing, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't fucking work. That's been kind of the phrase of the night. It doesn't work. So, yeah, there's my hot takes on extra credits, this garbage video. I'm gonna go ahead and just hang out for a bit. How's it going, chat? Yeah, we're gonna do that. Is it just me? It's probably just me, isn't it? Yeah. Let's see, participants. Yep, just me, of course. Me and one other person. Well, for those of you who swing by later to catch this video, let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. Correct me if I am wrong. And hopefully I can get out some regular content, and the next couple of weeks are going to be hell at my two jobs. But I'll see if I can at least do another stream on Sunday. These are getting to be kind of nice. So keep an eye out. I will keep you all posted. Thanks for swinging by. And before I go, if you want more of me, you can catch me tomorrow night on Locked and Loaded. There's a link for the podcast down in the description. That'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific. That'll be me, Smart Pig, and Pav, and we'll be talking all the latest in gaming news. And I'll be there to make plenty of edgy jokes while we go through it. So, without further ado, I'll let you go. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next one.